Hey Tyedric.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. You?
You having a good time at ILHC?
I am very tired, but very good.
Yeah, that's great. So my question. So we had some discussion about like why it's really important to learn more about the history and culture of the African American things. So it'd be great if you can share some of your experience and your thought.
Of course. So I started dancing with my family when I was a little boy. And for me, dancing wasn't something to do to impress someone or to look cool. Dancing was it's a way of talking. It was like a language. And so with my family, and I have a big family. I have 5 brothers and 4 sisters.
Wow.
And I'm the oldest. We would go to church, and our church was very small, and but all of our family was there. Our grandparents, aunts, uncles, everyone, and we would always sing together and dance together. And it wasn't the way maybe that we do it in Lindy Hop, where it wasn't very much about looking nice or anything. It was just about having community. And that community was really important because we were very poor. And so we found joy being together, and we found joy dancing together. And that's how I started dancing in general with Lindy Hop. But I think it was a very similar idea. Why I enjoyed Lindy Hop, because I felt like when you're swinging out and you're listening to the music, the feeling, I didn't have to worry about looking too cool or making like a fake idea of joy. I could just have fun with somebody and swing them around, and I really, really, really enjoyed that. I feel that the reason why people dance in the first place is because there's something that touches our spirits, our souls, and it has to get out. And so we move. And yeah, I think for me, this is the importance of dance for people who come from Black American culture. It's not so much to show people that we can dance good. It's about having language in our bodies to share what our hearts have, you know? And I think if you are somebody who has ever felt small, when I was younger, when I was in high school, and I really decided that I wanted to like practice hip hop and popping and all of these things, I was really skinny and hyper, and I got bullied a lot. And dancing made me feel very confident. It gave me a sense of power. To encourage people to dance, not just because of community, but because I think you don't have to have the history that Black Americans have of slavery to understand. I think maybe when we travel into the world, there are lots of messages that we get that we are not enough. And for me, when I was a boy, that was something that dance made me feel like bigger than that. Like those messages that were saying, oh, you're too skinny, you're too loud, you're too, this and that. Those didn't matter because my spirit was happy. And I think this is a good reason. This is the reason why I dance, and this is why dance is important in our culture.
Wow, that's a really good story.
Yeah.
So is there any good experience when you have some new culture? You travel now. You start travel more and more these days. So you travel to Europe. You plan to travel to Asia.
Yeah.
So what do you feel like? Is this very different culture, different background?
It's interesting. I do think that it's different because the history of the people in different countries is not the same.
Yeah.
And so their relationship with different ideas of moving is different. So like if I go to Germany, it's very hard to have Germany move their hips. But if I go to Spain or if I go to Greece, they really connect with the joy. But then, there are other things maybe that they are missing. I think we can kind of see different ways to approach the dance. There's the competition, there's the performance, there's the party or social dancing. You can have technique, you can have expression or joy. And I feel that in different places that I go, different people do different things well. So when I went to Sweden, I felt like the aesthetic, like the way the bodies looked, was very true to the way that it looked a long time ago. and I could see their joy, but it felt to me like they could go further with the expression. They had a lot of really good technique, you know. When I go to Spain, I see, and when I'm in Greece, I see a lot of really good expression, and maybe technique can be better. Myself, personally, I think there's a lot of expression, and then I'm working on technique because it's not my best part. I think as I've traveled around, it's been interesting to see people connect with something that feels so familiar to me, but when I go to their countries, everything seems unfamiliar. You know, like the food is different, the buildings look different, the people speak differently. I think the thing that will connect everybody is the expression, and I think this is more important. This is the human part. This is the part that, that makes it worth doing. When you have a group of people and you realize that you love each other and that you support each other, and you have this language now that you share in your bodies that you can express, this connection, I think this is good. And I think as I've traveled, I feel that my community is not just America. My community is expanding, and so I have friends that I want to know until I die in Germany. I have friends that I want to know forever in Sweden, in Turkey, in Greece, in Spain, in France, and I think that that's beautiful, and I think this is something that dance can give us.
Great. I think the swing dance is a start from like maybe the African American culture first, but now it became like more like kind of the platform for all different culture can connect through the swing dance, Lindy Hop.
You know, this is the thing I think about jazz in general. If you talk to any of the musicians, the black musicians, the pros back in the day, you listen to them speak. The only reason why we want people to remember that it is a black American dance is because of the culture in it, not because no one else can dance it. They always say anybody can dance it. The culture, black American culture, is about being yourself.
Right.
So if you are somebody from Korea, black American culture is about, like, you don't need to be like an American. You be yourself. You have to be authentic. And then you have to let that show. You can't hide yourself. And I think as long as people are being authentic to themselves, this is the power. You are honoring the spirit of jazz. You know what I mean? This is my perspective.
That's just really important thing, and there are some sad story or some sad history. So what the Korean people or Asian people who don't really has those kind of the enough resource knowledge. So what do you suggest?
I studied Korean when I was younger, and I learned about Korea's history and the history of Asia in general. And I think that there are a lot of people in Asia, no matter where you're from, that can identify. I think every country in Asia at one point has had another country come in and try to dominate them and say that they're small. It doesn't have to be sad and we avoid it. This is for black people in America. The sad things that happened with slavery, they're the reasons why the joy can be so authentic. There has to be pain sometimes, and that's what makes joy powerful. And when we acknowledge the sad things, and it doesn't have to be my sad thing. Like it can, for someone, maybe they feel too skinny or too fat, or the history of their country with another country or something. Maybe they feel poor. I don't know. But I think you have to acknowledge the sadness, and then it makes the step toward dance is the step towards joy. Choosing to dance and choosing to listen to the music is letting your spirit be free and not let the sadness hold it down. It shakes it off, and then that's the culture. That's what I feel is powerful for everyone.
Wow, I think it's really beautiful. I mean, in Korea we also call the Han. It's a kind of in Korean is a little like this deep sadness because of the long time of the lots of different history. We have a like different level of the people. Like at that time, it's not the same. All the people are the same. It's like different like slavery layer or another king, and they like control everything. So we have a little different type of the sadness.
Yeah.
So we also had in Korean traditional art, they like express that kind of sadness to something different. But you talk about very similar thought. I think it's a really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an all beautiful art form. It's sometimes it's from like that kind of the transition
Yes.
from sadness
From
to
the
more
sadness
positive.
into joy, the positivity.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think I read a book a couple it's called Pachinko and it's about like 3 generations of this family in Korea starting with of course. And I read this. It's one of my favorite books.
Oh.
I think, you know, if I can speak to Korea in particular, I think Koreans and Black Americans like have a very, it's not the same, but it's similar. Like I think that there's a lot of room to have empathy and compassion and understanding because of the 35 years under Japan and then everything else that happened, the US and all of this with Korea. It's not the same thing as slavery in America, but we can understand because someone came and they took over and then they made us feel small and they took everything economically from us, you know. And even today in America, there's still a lot of pain people carry because of these things that happened, even though some people say so long ago. This is something that we have in common, and so the dance and the music can be a way to take on and move to positivity. I really do think.
Wow,
this.
I think that you're like the most knowledgeable person about like Korean history. Because I never expected, but I think it will be really helpful for Korean dancer and also Asian dancer to understand like what is important, the why is important, how we better try to understand more about each other. Maybe that it helps. We can find not just the real like history, like common history, but as you said, like some empathy. Things is there some similarity, and then we can feel this is important.
Exactly.
Yes,
exactly.
I think that's really.
And we don't have to dance the same. We can be very different, but the heart is what matters. It's we have to be authentic to our spirits. We can't fake that. That is when that hurts us to pretend. So this is how I feel, and I hope that this is something that can be helpful for people in Korea or in Asia in general.
Definitely. So, thank you for your time.
Of course.
I think I'm really happy you come to Asia in September.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good chance to see all the Asian dancers there. Hope you come more and more to Asia. I hope to see you in Korea someday.
Someday, hopefully.
Yeah. Thank you, Tyedric.
Of course. Yeah.
Thank you so much.